Devil Country by David Hardy. Chapter 11. Heinrich, as usual, felt a little powerless, even if Leonard's hand on his shoulder was far gentler than the last devils who had carried him halfway across Crustland. Almost as soon as he thought he was safe, here he was, being led around by this strange green devil deeper into the grey woods. He had half a mind to say something cutting, if he wasn't so terrified of the entire situation. "The human is coming along." "Really? He is under my care, Minister. He comes." Heinrich could barely understand what the two devils were saying, and had, in fact, been confused most of the night. He had found the language of the devils, as spoken by Leonard, to be difficult and complex, but the tongue these two spoke between themselves was impenetrable. He had managed to follow along, more or less, through inference and catching maybe every third word. Heinrich followed the two devils closely. As they traveled on, Leonard noticed that the ruined trees began to thin out the deeper in they traveled, until finally the land was completely flat and barren, without even undergrowth. Abruptly the forest ended, ringed on all sides by nothing but dry dirt. There was a wide, yawning crater, a mile wide. Leonard's mandibles opened wide in shock. There was nothing within the crater but black glass, with a spiderweb of cracks stretching along the bottom of a nearly perfect bowl. Moonlight shined from the bottom of the crater, the reflection seeming sinister and misshapen. "A saint's bowl," said Heinrich. "Here?" "A what?" asked Leonard. "A silly superstition," the minister answered. "It's most likely ground zero for some ancient weapon the humans couldn't be trusted with." "Is that the reason why the trees are so sickly?" asked Leonard, suddenly nervous. "Are we in danger?" "Whatever caused the crater wasn't radioactive. I don't exactly know what it was, in truth," the minister explained. "But it's what was underneath it that caused the radiation poisoning around us. Perhaps they targeted some kind of cache of nuclear materials and didn't penetrate quite deep enough to obliterate it fully. Don't worry. It's well past dangerous levels for us. For the human, I neither know nor care." Heinrich, impatient at the minister's technical explanation, took up the story. "It's from a war against the gods, you ingrate. The saints fought for humanity and became divine. Or your ancestors were so stupid and barbaric they blew themselves back to the Stone Age," taunted the minister. "Is this why you brought us here?" demanded the human. "Blasphemy!" "No. The crater is merely a convenient landmark. We're here for that." The minister gestured along the rim of the bowl, drawing their attention to the small shack built near to the edge. He began to walk along the crater where soil met black glass, and Leonard followed him, with Heinrich in tow. Once inside the shack, Heinrich gasped. Despite how tiny and unimposing it looked from the outside, the room was actually constructed not of wood, but of a sort of metal. Several devil gadgets were lying around, beeping and whirring. Many weapons were strewn about, including a few of the crossbow-like magic wands, and, crouching against a far wall, a huge mechanical suit of armor in the shape of a devil, which Heinrich had heard called a golem. Heinrich had never properly seen a golem firsthand. They were not used in the East. Sand tended to disrupt the clever machinery. Even so, in its curled-up state, with knees hugging its chest, it was nearly twice as tall as the human, with thick, jointed limbs. Magical weapons were welded to all four arms, and the shoulders were bulky, as if there was more ordnance hidden within. Once it had been painted, but time and battle had washed all but a few specks of blue and black from the metallic hide. Despite its age and wear, however, Heinrich was astonished to see that it shone with uncommon care, as if it was a beloved treasure to be admired. The minister ran his fingers along the contraption as he passed it by. "Alchemy," said Heinrich at all these wonders, as his understanding dictated. The minister ignored him. "Here we are, Your Honor." Following the minister's voice, Heinrich turned away from the golem to regard the center of the room. He saw the minister standing over a table, upon which a series of glass tubes and bottles bubbled upon lantern fires and zipped around, mixing themselves and stewing in their own heinous juices. "It's amazing. How did you create a setup like this on such a primitive world?" asked Leonard, looking around at the chemist's workplace. "You insult me, sir," said the minister smugly. "The humans' planet is quite rich in many elements. The humans just sit on top of it without realizing what they have. What I didn't have, I could salvage from the battery packs on our weapons. The hard part was gutting this old dropship to create an acceptable laboratory." Leonard left Heinrich's side slowly as he looked around, reading the labels stuck to the glass vials. He startled as he read some, and gasped as he read others. His biggest reaction came when he read the label of a metal cylinder about as long and thick as a man's forearm. Heinrich wanted to ask what he was so excited about, but found that he didn't want to move more than was necessary. The whole room stank of magic, dark magic, and the black-husked devil was the alchemist in charge. Heinrich did not want to become mixed up in it. "This," began Leonard, "this is starship fuel. There must be 2 full tanks here. Enough to get us back to our home planet and back again." "How?" "The perks of freedom. We were able to spread over the whole of this country, finding the odd abandoned dropship. There were traces of fuel in the ones that weren't turned into barns by human farmers. Along with that, well, look outside. There was enough radioactive waste underneath the crater to make for excellent catalyzing material. Cook it all up, and we have more than enough to return home." "But what? Why not leave? This changes everything." "There are no more dropships, Your Honor. We cannot get back to the starship without a dropship. Everyone that landed in this country has by now been irreparably damaged by idiot peasants. The last ship that could possibly still be used is... well, you should know where it is." Leonard did. He remembered that Castle Novem had taken the president's dropship, the first one to land upon the surface of the planet, as a trophy after taking the president hostage. Shortly after, they realized there must be more, and tricked his father into going up to retrieve as many refugees as possible. Half the ship had been emptied in this back and forth before the devils realized something was wrong, and that they were being greeted not by the sympathetic hand of charity, but by the cruel hand of opportunity. The devils who had come down were soon chained together and driven over to Greyville, and the president disappeared when he refused to retrieve any more slaves. The remaining population left on the ship must have died of starvation and disease. Leonard sometimes wondered if they were the lucky ones. For the better part of a minute, Leonard made no sound, but he understood perfectly what this all meant. At last, he spoke. "You really want me to stay, don't you?" "Of course," the minister said, picking up one of the silvery cylinders and handing it over to Leonard. "You have more chance of freeing us here than you do while kowtowing to the humans. That is what I tried to tell you." Leonard weighed the cylinder in his upper hands, testing its weight. It was full. By this point, Heinrich's curiosity got the better of his fear, and he approached a shelf of strange elixirs. He stroked his mustache and leaned his face close to a cylinder containing a strange red liquid. Leonard looked over when he noticed the prince had moved, and gasped lightly as he recognized the chemical that had caught Heinrich's attention. Quickly, he pulled the human away from the shelf. "Please, my lord, it is dangerous." "You may not want to do that, little human," said the minister in the clear language of the devil slaves. His tone was light, but when he saw the true concern in his president's eyes for this human, he seethed inwardly. "What is the meaning of this, minister?" demanded Leonard. "I recognize this substance. Father told me it was banned. How do you even have it?" The minister made an unfamiliar noise, which Heinrich barely recognized as the trilling sound of devil laughter. The black devil walked past Leonard and Heinrich and took the vial of red liquid from the shelf. He stared at it, clearly valuing this dangerous substance greatly. My father taught me much of the sciences of our home world. I made sure to pay close attention to anything chemical that could be used in order to harm our enemies. This liquid in particular is quite effective, and you may find that in this backwater of the universe I don't really care a whit for space treaties or whatever. I'm merely keeping all of my options open. If an opportunity arose where I needed it, I would prefer to have it on hand." "Bastard," said Leonard. Then he turned to the human, intent on getting him out of this menacing laboratory. "My lord, take this." The Green Devil lifted the sword off of his belt, scabbard and all, and rubbed the sheath slowly across his neck. Heinrich could sense a sudden, pungent cinnamon tang to the air, as his bodyguard almost seemed to lick the leather. As he took it, Heinrich was surprised at its dryness. "The scent will mark you as an ally of mine. The others of my kind will not harm you as long as you hold this. Go, find my little one, and bring him into the camp." "But, Leonard—" "Please, do this." Seeing the intensity of the look the devil gave him, the prince nodded his head and walked out of the shack. Once he was gone, Leonard relaxed slightly, but was still clearly wary of the minister. "Oliver!" cried out Heinrich as he looked around the forest. "Oliver! Where are you, you bloody cricket?" Grasping the sword tightly, Heinrich wandered towards where he remembered the ruined cart to be. True to Leonard's word, the thick smell upon the sword placated the devils around the camp and kept them from attacking. "What am I doing?" he suddenly began asking himself. "I should get away. This is bloody dangerous, Heinrich. You need to get to the castle. Go to meet Lady Eileen. Leonard can handle himself, and the kid—" He paused before crying out anew, "Oliver! Come here!" Heinrich jumped suddenly at a noise behind him. By reflex, he turned and brandished the still-sheathed sword towards the perceived threat. "Who? Oliver?" He watched the darkness for a moment, his brows furrowed. His heart had jumped into his throat, and his face clearly showed his terror. A moment later he saw something approaching, snapping twigs and disturbing the black trees such that clouds of ash billowed up, obscuring its form. It seemed to be some kind of huge animal, and he feared that he had wandered into the territory of wolves. As he watched the creature approach, his eyes widened. It wasn't a wolf. It must have been a bear. The animal was massive and loped at him with ice-blue eyes shining in the night. Heinrich's knees buckled, and he shivered in terror, certain that he was facing death. When the apparition reached him, however, the creature sat down and barked once. Heinrich screamed and fell over backwards, throwing his arms over his face. "Prince Heinrich," said a voice in the next second, as a dark knight approached and fell to one knee. "I am Silvus Dinning, a knight in service to the Duke Novem. My master has sent me to retrieve you." Heinrich looked up and saw the knight on one knee. He looked over and also saw the hound's panting, contented face. He had never seen a crustless Fuil hound before, and he was still stricken with terror. "The Duke?" said Heinrich, standing up unsteadily, trying to keep his dignity, before he truly realized the words which passed his lips. "The Duke! I could kiss you, my good man! Let me go get my servants, and I—" "No, your highness. We must leave now before we are found by the devils." "But, Leonard—" "The insect has obviously betrayed you, my lord. He brought you to this devil encampment. It is miraculous that you have escaped with your life." Escaped?" He looked down at the sword. Wait! I can't leave my devil servant behind."
"Why not, your highness?"
Because he didn't betray me. He saved my life. And furthermore, he's important somehow. To the devils here, that is. I think. If we leave him here, the renegades will be much stronger. And of course—" He stopped himself before mentioning Oliver. Many humans did not look kindly upon the devil's breeding.
"Important? How so?"
I don't know, but they obviously respect him. Leonard and I were about to walk out of here until the leader showed Leonard what I think may be some dangerous power.
Denning's head perked up, and the hounds followed suit. Power?
Yes! I don't have all the details, because they were speaking this complex version of the devil tongue I'd never heard before, but I recognized some words. There is this red water in there, in an alchemical vial. Some kind of devil magic, perhaps. I was quite confused about what they were talking about, and why it seemed so serious. But their leader was confident in its power.
Where is this vial?
In a shack, deeper in the woods, sitting upon the rim of a saint's bowl.
The knight seemed ready to jump to his feet and go there immediately. Having access to some hitherto unknown devil magic could give him enough advantage in the court to convince the Duke not to follow through with marrying Lady Eileen off in vain. However, he stopped. His duty to the Duke stayed his hand. If you will not go without the devil, then we need a plan.
Simply leave me, said Heinrich. Leave me here. I shall return in my own time, and I promise I shall come back with information on the renegades.
That may take too long for the Duke. He wants you to meet his daughter soon.
Yes, but what better gift would there be than to wipe away the taint of the renegades? Leave me here and go without me. This is an order from your betters, knight. Heed it. I must away.
Denning nodded, slowly, as Heinrich turned away, asking himself frantically why he had decided to stay. As soon as he thought himself out of sight of the Dark Knight, he continued his search for Oliver.
"He seems nice,"
said the minister, placing the vial of red liquid back upon the shelf carefully, with a lilting smirk in his tone.
"I hope you don't seriously—"
"What? Don't seriously what, minister?"
"Count him as any ally of yours."
I don't know." Leonard seemed to lose a portion of his self-assurance as he spoke of Heinrich. After a few moments of the minister scowling and Leonard looking unsure of himself, the minister turned back to the president.
"I suppose the time has come to clear the air. There is no reason for us to squabble over such a petty reason," said the minister. "I need you, and you need me, and so I would like to suggest a truce between us."
"You call chemical weapons a petty reason?"
"For the good of our species, I think my reasons are absolutely justified."
"And I say those treaties were there for a reason."
"Our enemies are barbaric, backwards neophytes. Whatever glory days they had are long lost in the past. If we want to be free, we must use every piece of knowledge and technology we have access to."
"Damn you, minister!"
cried Leonard, facing him and pointing his antenna towards the Black Devil.
"Give me one good reason I shouldn't cut you down right now."
"Because, by the way you fought my guards outside, I can see you are uncomfortable with killing, perhaps? Because you need me? Because the rabble outside are quite loyal to me, even if they are inspired by your presence. Seeing you kill me, or me kill you, will cause civil war amongst our followers, and that is something that will decimate our number beyond repair."
Leonard turned away, hearing the reasons, but still not liking the idea of working alongside this Black Devil.
"But," continued the minister, "perhaps the most compelling reason is that this is probably the most stimulating conversation you've had in 30 years. Who else is there to talk to? The rabble outside? Dumb, desperate slaves born on this world without benefit of an education? Perhaps I'm evil, but at least I'm a sparkling conversationalist."
"You're not helping your case."
"My case was made and proven a while ago, Your Honor. This canister of fuel represents hope for our people, hope of escape and freedom. I know damn well that you're not a president, any more than I'm a minister, but a figurehead is a figurehead. I was their champion,
And now, in the span of an hour, so too are you. You could be a numb-headed fool for all I care, and I would still give you this offer. If the two of us work together, we may be able to take advantage of the slim hope this fuel gives us, and the renegades outside could be our army. So, what are you going to do about it?"
Leonard's face softened before he turned back towards the minister. His eyes were still uneasy, and he clicked his mandibles in annoyance, twitching his antenna. But he couldn't escape the minister's logic. The minister did not want to give Leonard too much more time to think about it, however, and so he changed the subject. "It was clever, that trick with the sword. A rather ingenious solution. None of us would dare disturb one who holds the scent of the president."
"I just wanted him to be safe,"
Leonard said. "He's safe enough. As much as I would like to crush his bones in my bare hands, I shall not harm him." There was a moment of thoughtful silence in the room, broken only by the sinister bubbling of the chemistry set on the table, and followed by a knock upon the door. The minister, enraged at the interruption, cried out, "I am not to be disturbed." However, a devil entered anyway and saluted. "Minister, Your Honor, we've seen humans on the outlay. Come quickly." Both Leonard and the minister were suddenly alert. The minister, because humans had finally found the camp, and Leonard because his child was still unaccounted for. Both devils rushed out of the room, their differences forgotten in the sudden excitement. The sight which greeted them was that of a group of devils huddled around a corpse. The armor of the knight was a sullied white, stained by blood draining from the faceplate, where he had been impacted by a hard concussion. "Where was he found?" said the minister. "Outside of the camp. It was skulking around," said one of the devils, still holding a dripping club in his hand. Leonard spoke up.
"There are likely more."
"Then spread out," cried the minister. "Find them! They can't have gotten far." With that, the attendant devils dispersed. They disappeared into the line of trees and began to explore the camp. Torches were lit, and there was a chorus of whistles and trills as the searchers yelled to one another. The minister continued to kneel over the human's body, trying to glean all he could from the intruder, while Leonard looked around, worried about his son, and about Heinrich. Suddenly, they heard a faint crash. It came from the direction of the Saint's Bowl. A devil suddenly appeared from that direction, looking frantic. "Fire! Fire!" he cried. The minister straightened up from the dead man and grabbed the devil by the shoulder. "What is it? What happened?" "I saw smoke near the crater. When I arrived, the laboratory was aflame, and I saw humans running away carrying some vials." "Which vials?" demanded the minister. The devil said nothing, merely looking down at the ground, and both Leonard and the minister somehow knew the worst had happened. The minister's eyes went wide, and he rushed off in the direction of his lab. Leonard made a move to follow him, but his worry for his son overrode his desire to help the minister. He looked around until he saw a devil carrying a bucket of water, following after the minister. He hailed the devil with a harsh click and a brusque gesture, and immediately the devil straightened up and fell in line. Your Honor?"
"Where is the human lord?"
asked Leonard calmly. The devil looked around nervously. "He came back with a child, not long before we found the dead human." At the mention of a child, Leonard perked up.
"Where?"
The direction was pointed out by the devil, who then returned to his job. The green devil rushed towards the edge of the clearing, and soon he saw Oliver's thin frame standing nearby the woods. Leonard broke into a run. "Father!" the boy cried, running up and hugging his father. "The Lord found me. I gave him back his scrimshaw, but we heard people buzzing. Is something happening?" The prince sat a little ways away, looking at the scrimshaw. He looked a little forlorn. Leonard walked up to Heinrich and knelt down.
"My lord."
"You're some sort of high rank yourself, aren't you, Leonard? I think you may drop the pretense. Kneeling to me is surely hurting your standing with these devils. Heinrich is my name for now, if you can pronounce it." Leonard paused, then did his best to approximate the sound of the prince's name, coming up with a hissing noise to stand for the H,
and then a growl, and a harsh click for the final hard consonant.
Heinrich, then. We found a human knight on the outskirt of the camp. Not long after, the minister's lab was destroyed. I must ask, did you see anything unusual in the woods?
The human looked up at Leonard, then at the devils who were rushing about in all of the excitement, then down at his bit of white bone, and sighed. "I saw nothing, Leonard," he lied. "I'm sorry."
"It is fine," Leonard answered, trusting the prince. "Come, let's get you to safety."
Leonard held out a lower hand for the prince to take, and Heinrich stared at it for a moment. He was unsure of whether he actually deserved to take the hand of this devil. However, he swallowed his shame and stood up straight, as he was taught to do, and allowed himself to be led off. Soon the minister returned, hobbling back, leaning on the shoulders of two strong warriors. They saw someone had wrapped his raw antenna in bandages, and the overwhelming smell of burning chemicals was overwhelming. The 2 canisters of starship fuel were clutched to the minister's chest, the only apparent survivors of the Black Devil's laboratory. Leonard hurried their pace, and as soon as the minister saw him, a look passed between them like a lightning bolt.
"He took it."
A pang of guilt struck Heinrich's soul as he heard the minister's troubled words.
"Minister," said Leonard, "what happened?"
"The dead man was a decoy. They went behind our backs and raided the lab," buzzed the minister, his eyes alight in rage. "They have it, Your Honor. They took the red vial."